know, okay, what's happening? Are there specific activities that make me lose energy? So for me, I prefer having my calls around the end of afternoon or maybe even evening, because once I do a call in the morning, I feel like shit. I don't want to work anymore. I'm done. Like I did my talking, nothing else matters. I never really realized. I thought I had a good business, but I was the business. So without me, there was nothing. So if I get sick or if I get hit by a car tomorrow, then there is no show anymore. Nothing is gonna happen.
The future of marketing is going omnichannel. Before we go into the interview, there's something I want to talk to you about. If you are in business, you may have realized that in order for you to sell anything, you need to build relationships first. The past 5 years, what I have found, the easiest way to build relationships is through online events. And I actually have written a book about it, High Converting Online Events. How to create, promote, and monetize your online event. Also put the exact framework behind how to make that happen. If you want to build your business using the power of online events, you can grab a copy. I'm going to put a link in the description of this episode. You can go ahead and grab it. And let's go to that. So welcome to the Omnichannel podcast, Adam.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure. So I'm just hearing that you're moving. Where are you moving?
We used to move pretty close to the city center, but then we moved a little further from the city center because we thought, oh yeah, we need the space, we need the peace. But then we realized, like, it's very nice having a very big house, very fancy neighborhood, but you also realize that there's nothing here. So what we created for ourselves, living in this nice golden cage. Like whenever people come over, they're like, wow, like it's an amazing house. But at one point, well, very soon actually, I think it only took us a few months, like, oh, this house now is just a house. So we didn't really like that anymore. So we're gonna move back, we're gonna downsize a little bit, move back close to the city center so we can actually walk to places, do some stuff, have some coffees. Like right here, there's nothing. There really is nothing at all. You have to drive every single time.
Listen, I can appreciate nature for sure, but if you work from home, which we both do, and I think part of our conversation is going to be around working from home as a digital entrepreneur slash the travels, the glamour, like what's really the behind the scenes. So as someone who works from home, I can completely relate. If there isn't much to do around you, I mean, you're home all the time. So what do? It's not like you have an office where you go and commute every day and you like experience people, and like places. But if you live somewhere that's like more secluded in not in a center, that can be like very lonely. So I understand the move.
Yeah, I would say generally speaking, I'm fine not leaving the house. Like I will not leave the house for months, and I'm like, I would say I'm already a little weird like that, but even for me, it's a lot. So we'll just be stuck, and especially if you work from home, like it's just, so you have like at least 8 hours of work, I'm guessing, for most people, then everything else around the house as well. So you'll be out a day for like maybe 30 minutes. There's no socializing, there's nothing else. And of course, there are a lot of benefits, but having some kind of variation, and I think it definitely necessary. Personally, I prefer just having both. And every time I cut like phases, so I'll have like a phase where I'll just work outside every single day in a coffee shop, a co-working space, or while we're just several months nowhere, just focus on work at home. And I think that keeps me sane. And I think staying, keeping your sanity is very important. I think a lot of people go crazy. I had this friend actually. We used to work together for a publishing company, and great guy, but he could not stand it. He could not stand working from home, being alone all the time, because that's reality usually. Like you're alone all the time. And if you go to these places like Bali or any other place with a lot of expats and digital nomads, that's fun. But then you need to find the balance between how much fun we're gonna have and when are we actually gonna do the work. And I think that's quite hard for most people.
Yeah. First of all, like, I'm still at the point when you said you're fine with not leaving your house for months. Like that to me is like, what the fuck? Anyway, how is that working out for you? Because I don't think I can not just leave, go outside and do
Um,
travel?
yeah, I think I've always been very, very introverted, and I'm totally fine just working. And especially if I have a certain goal, then nothing else matters. If I have a certain goal, then that's just it. And right now, it's just work, baby, family, and that's everything about those few things. It's at home. There's nothing else. Um, and every few months, I'll notice like, oh, okay, I would like to be social right now. And when I notice that, then I'll do it. But I'll meet someone like once or twice every 3, 4, 5 months, and then I'm charged for the next 3, 4, 5 months.
Wow,
That's how my brain works.
that's crazy. So let's talk a little bit about what you do so that the listeners can put everything into perspective. Because we're going to talk about behind the scenes, lifestyle, balance. So can you just let us know what you do?
That's a very good question, and I get that question a lot. And in all honesty, a lot of times I don't even know because I feel like
I have no idea what I'm doing.
yeah. And mainly because I feel like I'm doing a lot of different things.
Yeah.
Um, so I'll do my own closing, but I'll also hire people, or I'll like help other companies find people as well. But while I do that, I'm also like writing my own copy. I'll write copy for other people. I'll do my own DM setting. I'll train people for DM setting. So like basically anything you can think of, like whether it's social media or anything funnel related, or like a CMO, I'll touch a little bit of everything. So a lot of moving parts, and I think that's where I'm like a little stuck. Like, what's my title now? So I just usually tell people I'm not sure. It's probably easier to just tell people I do a little bit of everything. And if they're not in the online marketing space, I just tell them I sell drugs because it's easier to explain.
Oh my God. I want to
Not
see
easier.
like their faces when you say that. No, but I can relate. And to be honest with you, going to networking events and just be like, so introduce yourself, like, okay. And I'm trying to like so hard to explain. So I do this, and then I send emails, and I do this, and I for this client, that's what I do. And then I there is no title, I think, like that is like all encompassing of all this work.
Yeah, yeah. I think generally speaking, I'll try to stick around something with marketing. Like, yeah, I'll help companies with their marketing and increase the
Yeah.
revenue. Just try to be as boring as possible.
Yeah, yeah. What I say is I help grow businesses online because
Yeah.
that's kind of like what I do is if it's online, then probably something around growing those things and that helps.
Yeah, when it's in similar circles, they'll understand. Like if you talk about copywriting or media buying or whatever, they're like, "Oh, okay, yeah, makes sense." But for everyone else, it's just like, so what? Like copyright as in with the movies? You're like
I
super
know
confused.
they don't know. It's basically I think the language is, different. And I'm so crazy because I find myself explaining like what a webinar is. Like there's like webinars. Like okay, okay, those online events. Sometimes so I really really try to explain it, but I'm like I just need to stop over explaining. And if they're curious, they would ask more questions. But if they don't care, it's just a polite question. They're just like, ugh,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
I did not sign up for all this shit. I'm just like, I was trying to be polite. I don't really care about what you do, but just, so I
Yeah.
think that's what I'm getting a lot. I
I
have
think it
to learn
makes your
how to
life
like,
a lot easier by just keeping it very, very simple. And if they're truly interested, like you said, they'll ask, they'll figure it out. And otherwise, it's just, yeah, just stuff online.
yeah, right? I think
Keep
I
it
had
there.
to learn that. I had to learn it. That was a process. So we did talk about the Bali lifestyle. There is a lot of talks about, freedom, like work from anywhere. And, I think there's such a glamorized sales pitch around this, like
Mhm.
freedom, blah, blah, blah. So we know that's not quite how it is. We have experienced it, and you have experienced it. And can you tell us what was your experience with like the travel lifestyle, the nomad lifestyle?
Yeah, I think I traveled for about 5 or 6 years. I don't even remember how many flights, like probably hundreds of flights. Um, and it was great at the time. It was great, especially once you start out and you'll start making some money and you feel awesome looking at all the stuff. But it doesn't take a lot of churches to realize that most churches look quite similar, and the same goes for temples.
Oh my God.
Um, And with a lot of things, it's very, very nice meeting a lot of people, but at the same time, making true friendships is very hard because after a few months you're gone or they are gone and they don't really know what they want to do. Maybe you don't really know what you want to do. So when you're younger, when you're starting out, it makes a lot of sense to me. But after a while, you start missing the stability, and I think it all the things that you don't have seem very nice. So for most people, traveling seems very nice because you don't do it that often. It's very special. But after a while, these places don't excite you as much anymore. Like that feeling of flying or going somewhere is, just it's just another trip. Just like with the house I have, like it's a gigantic house. It's beautiful, but now it's just another house, and it becomes very normal. And then the stuff that you don't have is what normal non-digital nomads have, and like stability, the peace, and having your own office. Like right now, I'm looking at like 3 giant monitors, which are a little unnecessary, but they're great. Stuff like that you can't really have, but I can probably do 3 times as much at home than I can outside, which is my laptop. And then suddenly I'm starting to think like, oh, I want to grow something and I want to build up something, and that becomes very hard while you're traveling and meeting people all the time.
Yeah. No, I can definitely relate on that. And I think I've gotten to a point where, you know, those marketing messages when they say, oh, freedom, you can get freedom, common freedom. And I'm like, okay, I guess I have freedom now. And then the financial freedom, I think I have financial freedom too. So I check. Okay, now what? You know, I think
Yeah.
there comes a point where you're like, okay, I can be anywhere. I can travel anywhere. But like we said, productivity is not going to be the same. Especially for me, I mean, just maintaining quality work. You know, most of my clients are on retainers. So, and just the ability to focus, maintain quality work, be there for clients, and plus explore, plus travel, I think it's just so hard. I feel so guilty every time I'm traveling because I'm trying to just balance, you know, their work with my travels, and there is no stop. You know, there isn't like, hey,
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Take
take
someone
2 weeks off, like,
Yeah.
bye. There isn't their business doesn't stop because I'm going somewhere.
Yeah.
So that's one of my difficulties
Yeah, there are
with
a lot
this.
of pros and cons to it, and I have conversations with my friends who have a 9 to 5, and what they never seem to understand is like when you are done at 5, you are done. Like you don't think about it. Like you can do whatever you want, but when I wake up at 2, 3, 4, or maybe 4 a.m., like oh shit, I have still things to do. The show must go on. The business won't stop, and I can't just take off suddenly. I need to really really schedule that ahead. And even when you take time off, stuff is still going on. Like the businesses that you work with don't stop. And then it becomes very hard to just let go of that and just truly enjoy. And I think that's a very hard balance for most people to find.
Yeah, definitely. And I think I mean, for you, it's you have a baby now, so it's you really have to learn how to prioritize better. Do you think that having a baby helped you to be more productive, or
Um, yes and no. I would say yes and no. I think the hours I work are tend to be very, very focused because I know that every minute that I'm not productive, that I'm not focused, also means I need to work more, and it takes away from time being with my family. And that's a price that's too big to pay. So definitely that. But also with the baby, of course, like I would lie if I wouldn't tell you that it's quite hard at times. So there are plenty of sleepless nights, days where I feel like shit, and I'll just sit behind the laptop like, I don't know if I have the energy to do this. So those days I'm not very productive. But it does really make you prioritize things. I think especially with fun and social activities, that I really have to sit down and think like, this person that I could meet, is it worth it? Am
can
I
I
gonna?
sleep more or work more, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, is it worth it? Would I rather be with my baby? Would I rather work more? Would I rather fix this? So you really start to prioritize things. And I think for me, the last year or so, it has been with a lot of friends and people that I might know or maybe aren't that close with. And then I realized, thinking, is it worth it to like maintain this, or would I rather do something else? And then it becomes very clear, like which people you truly want to continue being friends with, or you think are actual friendships, or what I notice a lot is that people just want something from me.
How do you think your friends are reacting to this new version of you that
Um,
is like, cheers, guys. I'm having much more fun without you,
I
with the
think it
baby.
I think it really depends. Friends that I've had for years, they understand, and they will probably come to visit us instead of like asking us to go somewhere else. Um, Whereas more like acquaintances, they're like, oh shit, so now we're not good enough, but it has nothing to do with that to me. It's just like, if I had to pick and you want to come over for coffee here and I can still watch my child, then I would be more than happy to do that. But if you want me to take like half a day out to do something, I probably don't want to do it. And that's just the truth. So
Wow.
yeah, I'm just very Dutch that way. Grew up in the Netherlands, so I'm like, yep, not doesn't feel like something I want to do. Maybe once in every few months, like if it's a little bit longer, then I'm fine. But right now, um, I feel like being at home, seeing her grow up, because right now, like every single day is different. Like she'll grow up a lot every single day. Like the things she does today are very different than what she's gonna do next week. And everything is going so quick that I don't want to miss out.
That's so interesting you say that to me because all my mom friends, they like complain. They're like, get me out of here. I want to just get out of home. I can't be doing like basically
Mhm.
like so happy to catch a break from their babies.
I mean, of course, there are moments like that. Um, but most things, like for example, before I would also still love to go out and go into the nature, but it's more enjoyable for me to just do it with my family. So it was never like, oh, I've got this extra burden. It was just like, oh, I've got an extra buddy to just bring with me. Um, and I think the older she'll get, like the more we'll like see and experience together, and like, oh, there's a lot of really cool stuff that becomes more enjoyable because there are times when it's very tough and where you go like, oh, I want to catch a break. But there are very small little moments where like, oh shit, like this was totally worth it. Like I wouldn't have wanted to miss this. And with
Mm.
those moments, I feel like it's perfect. There's nothing else that I would rather do.
How do you find yourself to stay disciplined? I think for me, one of the biggest challenge is to focus. I
Hmm.
have clients and projects and podcasts and like there's so many things I'm doing. And especially you said as well, like you're dabbling with Instagram, you're copywriting, like there's just so much you do. So especially now that you have a baby, but how do you find yourself to like get the discipline? Do you have like a to-do list or what's your go-to?
Yes, so there are a few things I do. I've got my habit tracker with non-negotiables. I've got a to-do list, so I use like the 3-3 method. So like first three most important tasks, then second priority or wherever I need to call, and then the list of three things is what I need to maintain or some kind of maintenance around the house to keep it peaceful. So for example, it could be putting the dishes away or like keeping my office kind of clean or as clean as it can be, stuff like that. Then preparing the night before helps a lot, and never focusing on too many things at once. So I'll know like I might have a dozen things to do, but it doesn't mean a dozen things are important right now. So the list of priorities is very important. So I'll start my day with most important. So if I have 3-4 hours of deep work, of focused work, that it needs to be very clear when what needs to happen. And within those hours, nothing else matters. Like um, if it takes me very little, like if it's just 30 seconds, okay, fine, just get rid of it, then come back. If not, I'll just dump it. I'll dump it in Trello or Todoist. Then cool, this later. But just don't be in my head right now. All I need to focus on is one task. And that might be reviewing something, sending back feedback to a funnel builder, or writing copy. Like, cool, need 3 emails. I'm scheduling 25 minutes for this. That's it. And I'll set a timer on one of my giant monitors. It's in my face all the time. And I think that pressure prevents a lot of stress because the pressure makes me work faster and better, so I don't have to stress later.
What kind of habit tracker do you use? Because you said you're using habit tracker.
Um, Before I had very simple habit trackers. It was just non-negotiables, like what do I do after I wake up? And I'll stretch. What do I do after I stretch? Walk the dog. What do I do after that? Make breakfast after that. So it's very organized. Just know like every
Hmm.
single step needs to be done. Um, when I just started out, it was like very, very tight. Like I knew exactly 5:07, I'm out the door. 5:15, I'm back. I'm starting to make my coffee. I'll start stretching. Well, I knew exactly every minute. Now it's a little more peaceful, but still the routine and task needs to be done. Because I do believe like to detach myself from the ideal outcome and just to do what I need to do in order to get there. So I don't really know when exactly it will happen, but I know that it will happen as long as I keep showing up and doing my non-negotiables. Um, so I think that's very important. And right now I've divided up my habit tracker into several categories, whether it's financial, whether it's family, whether it's health, because it was very easy for me to forget about my health or to forget about even like family and relationships. And right
Hmm.
now it's in my habit tracker. Like every week I need to call my parents at least once, because otherwise
Wow.
I'll forget. Like it'll be months and like, oh yeah, I haven't spoken to my mother in 4 months, and like, okay, let me call her every week. So having those categories helped me not just in the business but also everything around it.
You're like insanely disciplined compared to myself, I feel like. Just like,
No,
oh, it's time to
it
call the
really depends.
parents.
No, it really depends. And I think the habit track actually helped me with that because I also allow myself to have bad days.
Hmm.
Um, it's not just green, there are red days. So if I tick it, then it's green, and if not, then it's red. And
Oh.
if I don't feel well, if I notice my energy isn't there, or if something happens baby related that could mess up a day, and I just don't beat myself up for it, and I just tell myself it's fine, it's just one day, and I just let it go. So there are plenty of days where I'm not super disciplined, plenty of days where it's not perfect, and that's okay. Like I'm just aiming for 80%, just aiming for 1% growth every day, and I just keep going, and over the years it'll add up. Um, and so far, since 2016, every goal I've had was pretty much around the timeline that I wanted to. So that was really,
Hmm.
really nice.
Do you, because you said, oh, I have bad days, sometimes, I allow myself. But I could imagine that because you have your routine in a way, that gives you peace of mind as well. So almost like you feel like I'm in control of my life, things are happening because I'm. So how much do you allow yourself to not show up for yourself, and how much do you? I mean, was this something that you used to beat yourself up if you were like, shit, I've been slacking for 3 days?
Um, I don't really have a specific number or percentage. I just know that it's relatively little. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe it's a few days in a month, and I'm perfectly fine with that. But it can never be that bad if you have non-negotiables, in my opinion, because the non-negotiables can be done in 1 or 2 hours. So I know, like, cool, no matter what, I've done the basics. I still made sure that I moved at least 1%. Just did a little bit, so it can never be that bad. And I personally feel like if I beat myself up, then I'll take away from the next day.
Mm-hmm.
Whether I would much rather just restart and start again and have a good day than take away from tomorrow. Because if I feel bad or if I keep working too much, it'll take a lot of energy today, and I might fix something, but the next day I won't have the same energy. So it's not as productive, and it'll cost me much more.
How is your energy management? Because you said you are very introverted. I'm also introverted, and I noticed that my energy, like I really have to pay attention how I manage my energy because I
Hmm.
don't have an abundance of energy.
Yeah. Um,
And I don't even have a baby just yet. So I'm sleeping 9 hours, I'm fine.
yeah. I think knowing your energy, and what I always recommend people is like have some kind of tracking, like know, okay, what's happening? Are there specific activities that make me lose energy? So
Hmm.
for me, I prefer having my calls around the end of afternoon or maybe even evening, because once I do a call in the morning, I feel like shit. I don't want to work anymore. I'm done. Like I did my talking, nothing else matters. Um, so I'll know that, and I'll switch up my calendar. Um, but if there are any other activities where I have to go out and see a lot of people, I try to move that, and also to really understand what gives me energy and what takes away energy, and to give that kind of like a point system of like, cool, how many points is this worth, or should it take, and is it worth my time, and can I like maybe delegate it, or maybe can I just get rid of it fully? So I'll try to optimize it that way. But overall, I do think it changes. Like energy changes. Like after a while of doing stuff, like maybe in a few months from now, you crave a different routine or variation. And once you notice that, I'll just sit down with myself. Okay, what happened? What changed? And is there anything else I can do to make it work again? Because it really isn't just time. Energy is a big part of that.
Mm. I'm still like amazed how you are measuring yourself, you like introspective on how you are performing. I think your performance is important to you. I mean, just based on the amount of information you acquired
Yeah,
on it.
it's well, I never really thought of myself as a incredibly productive person. In fact, I would probably tell myself that I'm a naturally very lazy person,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why I want to be productive and efficient, so I don't have to do as much. So I always try to find a better way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Just with energy as well. Cool, if I have more energy now, then I only have to do it for 30 minutes instead of 60
Mm-hmm.
minutes. Or
Mm-hmm.
if I make more money, then I can outsource the stuff I hate. So
Mm-hmm.
now
True.
life becomes more enjoyable, and that was always a really big goal for me. Um, so I think that was a big part of it, like naturally being lazy and the need to do less of stuff I dislike and only do the stuff I like. Um,
Okay.
so
That
that
reframes
helped
in
me.
my head a little bit because now I'm like, Adam, like he knows, he wakes up, he does his non-negotiables, and I'm like, shit, like I feel so lazy compared to you because I don't have that. I do have a couple though. I walk the stairs every day, once a day, because I'm living on the fourth floor and I don't take the elevator, just walk the fucking stairs every time. And my partner would be like,
Why?
like
Yeah.
I'll see you up there, like whatever you go. And then he knows. And there are days when I feel like, I'm go out twice and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna walk the stairs again. I'm gonna do it twice. And then and somehow I end up like getting something that I have to rush home. Like last time I got like a Slack message from a client. I'm like, okay, I'll take the elevator. And my partner is like smiling. And I'm like, why are you smiling? And he's like, well, you didn't walk the stairs twice. And I'm like, shit. Like even
You're right.
he's
Let me
like,
go
nah.
back.
Yeah. And I went back. And I went from the fourth to the eighth floor because that's also fourth floor. And I came back and I discovered how dodgy like the top of the like those parts of the building like shit like tiles are broken. I'm like, oh my god, like I feel like I arrived to a different building. Anyway, that's something I discovered just because I walk up the fucking stairs. So I do have those. I go to my pole dance every single Monday for 3 years, every single Monday. I haven't, I mean, unless I'm like dying from something, like I legit don't want to infect people or travel, I always go. That's like non-negotiable. I always go Monday. It's hard, it's difficult, it's painful, but I always go. So I do have some of those to make me sane because I also think, and you can also back me up, but if I put myself to like a non-negotiable, whether it's an exercise, whether it's I tend to follow through forever until I change that
Yeah.
habit to something else. Like I used to, I read this book, The One Thing, and it had a habit tracker because apparently it takes 66 days to build a new habit. So
Hmm.
I printed the thing. I was axing every single day and at the time I was doing meditations. And I ended up going for over a year. Every single morning I was waking up meditating. And then I did a whole year exercising every single day. And now that became a part of me. So I'm like, I know if I put any type of non-negotiable, I always do it because I cannot not do it. I just don't feel good if I don't. So I
It
think,
only becomes easier, which is
Mhm.
really nice.
Yeah, it's like brushing your teeth. Like it's just becomes who you are, you
Yeah.
know? And then, I understand it's not like you're forcing yourself to do those things because it's just like who you are. Like you have to do those things, your non-negotiables.
Yeah, I think finding a better reframing of the way you think, whether it's because for a lot of people, I think it always feels like a must. I must do this, I must do
Hmm.
that. Um, and when you must do something, it just sucks. Like even if you started out loving it, it just becomes a chore, and we don't really want to do it.
Yeah.
Compared to like, oh, but I want to do this. I really want to do this because of X, Y, Z. I want to do it, and like you said, like it becomes part of you, and then suddenly it's you don't think about it, and it just happens every day, and before you know it, like, oh shit, now I'm here, and then once you're there, then there's always a different goal. Um, I think humans are always looking for some kind of work. I do think we're made to work, to always have some kind of challenge. Um,
Exactly.
I think the most you could do is maybe 1 or 2 years off, and then you'll notice how boring life becomes without a challenge.
Yeah. To your point, for me, the way I reframe it is if I'm saying I'm going to do something, I will always do it because my integrity with my own words, like if I'm saying I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this. Like if I'm saying I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna be there. Like you can bet on that. That's like Bible. And to me, if I said, even though it was silly at the time, like I'm gonna walk the stairs, like okay, for one day it's fun, and then it becomes like, fuck, like I really don't feel like today is like I don't feel like walking the stairs, like, but I don't want to be a person who
Yeah,
doesn't do what they say, and that to me that makes me walk the fucking stairs even though I don't want to. Like sometimes I carry heavy shit and I still walk the stairs, like a whole pack of water. Like I don't care. I'm like thinking to myself like glutes like I'm trying to, like, as I'm going up, like focus on your glutes, mind, body, whatever. I don't like to do that. So it's for me, it's like not even like liking the task. It's like who I am as a person, and I
yeah.
can't face myself if I'm not, because I said the stupid fucking thing once that I want to walk the stairs. So I
I think
can't.
a lot of people could learn from that, like asking yourself where you want to be, and the things I do, does it align with where I want to be? And then the answer becomes very clear. It's just a yes or no. Like, does it align? Yes, no. Okay, cool. I should do it, or I should not do it.
Yeah. To me, it's building of confidence, because if you say you're gonna achieve like, I don't know, 100K in 6 months, that's your goal. And if you become a person who, when you say something, you're gonna do it, and it starts with the stairs. So, for example, if I'm saying like whatever financial goals that I'm putting in front of myself, and I don't have a relationship with myself that is like, I trust that you're gonna do it, because remember you did the stairs, remember you did that, remember you did meditation for a whole year, remember it's been 3 years you've been going to training. So whenever I'm putting anything out there, I believe that I'm gonna do it because I have evidence that I did it
Yeah,
before. So I know that it's not just like in the air. Like my mind doesn't go like, no, you won't. No, you won't. Remember, because you haven't done this and that. So for me, it's a way to build self trust and self confidence. And
I really like that. I love that actually. That's really nice. And I think it does stack up with your confidence. Like you'll know like, well, everything before made it happen, so why not this? That's really
exactly, it's that, because you are the type of person who, when you say you're gonna do it, you're gonna do it, because I have so much evidence, even if it was not fun, you know. So that's why I do these things. It's stupid, it's silly, but it helps in other areas, I think.
yeah. But I also think like a lot of people have this, at least in my opinion, a bit of a weird belief that everything has to be fun. Where I'm like, I see no reason why. I see no reason why everything has to be fun. I think it's much better to deal with the fact that a lot of things will not be fun, because most things will be out of your control. Like it's not up to you. There will be a lot of times where you have to do stuff that's not fun, and I would much rather know that I'm capable to deal with it very easily than
Yeah.
praying that hopefully everything will be fun for the rest of my life.
I think, and I mean, you look like you are exercising, you know? So I think if you ever started exercising, going to the gym, then you very quickly realize it's not fun at all. I mean, I mean, there's only so much fun, but then when you go to a spinning class, like, this is fucking hell. Like, this is not fun. Like, really, really, it's painful. Like, I'm sweating. I'm gonna pass out. Like, how is this is fun? Like, my body is screaming at me, like, what are you doing? You know? So I think if you go to the gym and you go back and you go back and you go back, and like, this is not fun. This is not fun. This is still hard. But then I know the long term, I'm gonna be healthier. I'm gonna have more energy. Like, I know those things in my mind even though the process is not fun, I know why I'm doing it. So I think for you, just to the point, like not everything is fun,
Hmm.
but so long as you can put things like, I'm doing it for this purpose, like that's where I'm going, even though the road might not be easy. But I think for me, that exercise really put that perspective into like putting myself into uncomfortable,
Yeah.
physically uncomfortable situations because I know that the payoff is going to be confidence, energy. Like there's so many things. I think that helps.
Yeah, it's always worth it. Like at the end of the day, it's always worth it. And for me, generally speaking, I always have a long-term vision. So if I need to go through some not fun stuff today, then that's part of it. But it would be so much worse never to get there. Like that would hurt so much more than it would hurt today by doing it. And that thought alone will always push me.
What are some of your long-term visions? I'm curious.
Um, I think I've actually switched up a lot in the last, yeah, 2 years or so, actually. Like a little bit before the pregnancy and during, and of course now with the baby. Um, whereas before I really, really wanted everything to be very, very big. Um, and right now it's more about peace. Because like I said, like at first I wanted the house, I wanted everything, and now it's like, oh, but the house is just a house, just another building doesn't change that much. Because I'm much more peaceful with that, and also with everything materialistic or the things I do. It's like no matter how I travel, like it's from A to B, it doesn't matter whether it's in the most expensive car or in my old car, and it's like the same thing. Um, so right now it really is about time, um, more about how I can automate stuff and becoming a better leader or a better manager, and to help other people be part of the company. Whereas before I would like hold very, very tight to everything because I wanted it to be up to my 100% standard, even though 80% or 90% would still be really good. Because once I'm able to do that, then I can probably have more time with my family. I think that became much more nicer to me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and also to have my money to, as much as possible, to be more passive.
Mm-hmm.
So like we're building a house that we're like paying off in cash, like just once 100%, just so I have peace of mind, so I don't have to worry. And I feel like all the little things that I could worry about, get rid of that, and then to just try to let go as much as possible and have belief in building a company that can sustain itself. Whereas before, I never really realized. I thought I had a good business, but I was the business. So without me, there
Mm-hmm.
was nothing. So if I get sick or if I get hit by a car tomorrow, then there is no show anymore. Nothing is going to happen. And I think that was a pretty hard realization. And also, because for a very long time, I knew I was part of the top 1% freelance in income. And I did very, very good as a freelancer. But as a business owner, I did very, very bad because it wasn't running a business. I do think like even a mediocre business could be so much more profitable than me being a top 1% freelancer. That was a pretty painful realization. And also talking to a buddy of mine, he has been running a really good business for maybe 15 years now or something. And as a freelancer, I feel awesome. As a freelancer, I feel like, oh shit, like I'm crushing it. Like I have really good money. I can do whatever I want. I always have all the options. Whatever it is that I want to buy, I can buy. Whatever it is what I want to do, I can do. Um, but I cannot buy back my time, and I cannot have the peace of mind I could have with a business that runs by itself. And I think working on that will be very important for me in the next 2 to 3 years already. And the years after, it's more going to be about playing defensive because I've always played offensive. Like, cool, how can I make more? How can I make more? But right now, even if you give me another 100 to 300 grand, it's like, okay, well, doesn't change anything. My life is not going to change. I'm not going to buy more. I'm not going to do more. So nothing of that will make me happier.
Mhm.
Whereas playing more defensive and keeping my money makes more sense now because I have much more to lose. Because before I had nothing to lose. So I would be fine reinvesting all my money in whatever, and half the time it wouldn't work out. But I knew that it just doesn't matter anyway. Like worst case, I'll go back to how I used to live. I can drink water, I can eat bread, I don't need anything fancy. But right now, like I have a lot to lose. So it's more about wealth preservation than just making more money. Because there's only that much more money that would really make a difference. Whereas if I just keep doing what I'm doing and preserve what I have and play defensive, it will build itself. Um, so it really will be about long-term wealth and
Mm.
more in more passive ways and expanding the portfolio. Because everything I do right now, it's very, very active. I always need to be on top of it. And I started investing like last year, and suddenly I look at it, and the numbers aren't even that awesome. Like it's not life-changing money, but
Yeah.
I look at it and like, shit, I did nothing for this. Like all I
Mm.
did was buy 100 shares, and I just let it go. And then I come back and like, oh, it's pretty nice making 3 grand. I'm like, yeah, that was pretty awesome. And it took me a few seconds.
Mhm.
And stuff like that gives me so much more peace of mind. Like there are no must-have calls. There are no clients that will complain about anything. Um, so that will definitely be the biggest goal that I'll be working on, and just reinvesting the money and trying not to waste it on stupid stuff anymore. But that already kind of stopped after 2021 or so.
Wow. You know, when you were talking about the fact that if you got hit by a bus, you have no business, I felt so called out. You know, I'm like, I think especially like two things. Having like more of a personal brand, like
Mhm.
knowing you and being the association with Adam, the copywriter, you know, like almost like building your own reputation and brand, it becomes this pressure on you to be able to work, and you are the only one, the only brain, you know. So I definitely felt like shit, like I also need to think of ways to get out of my business. And I think the other parts of it, and you mentioned that 80% good, not 100%, you know, up to your standards. I think I'm still struggling to let go because I'm thinking, oh, no one can do it as good as I do. My standards are so fucking high. Like you can,
Yeah.
like, you know, I care so much. Like, you know, I think those type of like internal monologues that like how I'm gonna find someone who can do it, you know, as good as I do it.
Well, of
So
course, you'll need to pay for talent. That's just a must. But at the same time, like if the quality is like let's say 20% less than yours, but now you can focus on other areas, then it makes a lot more sense. So, for example, I used to do a lot of email. I still do email, but not as much. Um, but a 20% difference in email won't make a huge difference. But now, if you give me the same time back and I can focus on Instagram, I can give you double the amount of email subscribers. Like, then the 20% definitely doesn't make sense because I will make so much more revenue compared to losing the 20% quality. And now I'm looking at a much bigger macro game, so to say, and I can scale the business much more. Then it goes back to prioritizing like what is really important. Do I want to look at other possibilities to double the revenue, or do I want to focus on a smaller part and maybe add an additional 20% onto the smaller part, which doesn't make sense. And I think as a business owner or as a CMO, you have to look at the bigger picture, and the smaller things. It's never really like, oh, I'm paying a copywriter 5K. Like I'm buying back myself all this time, buying myself a lot of energy. And now I can focus on making 50K or maybe
mm,
500K. That makes a huge, huge difference.
yeah, no, I get what you mean. What I wanted to comment on as well is you mentioned peace of mind. So peace of mind is to you having the financials or the options, or what, how do you define peace? Because you said, I just want peace.
Um, I would say for most of my childhood and early years in business,
Mhm.
it always felt like war. Like I was always fighting, always trying to hustle and just push harder and harder and harder. And when you're younger, that's perfectly fine. When you're hungry, that's perfectly fine. Like I've had so many sleepless nights and so many things where I'm like, shit, I don't know how I was able to do that. Um, Stuff like that. At one point, you don't have the energy. Like you don't have the same willpower anymore. Um, and just knowing that whether I still make the same 12 to 16 hours a day or not is an option. I'll still do it sometimes because I want to, because I truly am excited about the projects I'm working on. But also knowing that if I decide this afternoon that I'm not going to do anything, I'm going to sit in the living room with my child, that it's perfectly fine.
Mhm.
And that to me is a lot of peace of mind. Financials, I think I pretty much let go of that in 2021 because at that point I started having enough money to take care of my family, take care of myself, to do whatever I want. So money really became a game. So it's just about setting a high score. But I wouldn't spend that much more because I don't really have interest in materialistic stuff. So then it really comes back to the other things in life, which are time and energy and family. And maybe it sounds a little stupid, but it really is about building a legacy and like building something much bigger than myself.
Mhm.
Right now, I just want to build something which my children can look at and like, oh shit, he did something awesome, and we want to be part of that. Like I want my children to like be part of that. Like when they're 6 years old, I'm gonna sit them down like read this book. Like when they're 12 years old, I'm expecting them to just write full sales
Open
pages.
their own companies.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I think in order to do that, like I want to be an example to them
Mhm.
and give them a lot of options. And if they decide that they want to do something else, it's perfectly fine as well. But to at least show them that like possibilities are there and that no matter what, like you can build whatever you want, you can achieve whatever you want. Because for most of my life, that wasn't my mindset. Um, not until I started creating something that gave me the peace and took away a
Mhm.
lot of those beliefs. And ideally, I would want them to just never have to unlearn that. So it took me years to unlearn that. And I just want them to grow up like thinking like, oh, why would someone ever think about it like that? Like we
Endless
can,
options. Everyone,
yeah,
endless options.
yeah, just endless options, whatever it is, as long as you keep doing it, like it's gonna be fine. Um, yeah, yeah, just that. I think that to me is peace of mind. Just the options, like you said. It really was always about options to me and the experiences, and not even about doing the things or buying the things. Just knowing that I can, like knowing that I
Mhm.
can walk out, take out my Amex, and buy any car I want. I won't do it, but just knowing that, like, oh, now suddenly the car doesn't matter anymore because it was so easy. I can just walk out. Um, and the options to be able to do that or to do anything. If I want to quit today and take off a few years, I can. Like, like if clients suck, okay, just here's a refund. Like it doesn't matter. And that is a lot of peace of mind.
I love that for you. I love that. And I can second you on the I can buy whatever I want, but I don't want it anymore. I think I can relate to that. Like when you get to the point where this silly thing, like I wanted to buy cats, these like ragdoll cats, and they're
Mhm.
cute. And remember when I started my business 5 years ago, like it's like $1,000 cat. It's not a cheap cat, but I want four of those.
It's a
And
lot of hair.
I know it's a furry cat too. But
Yeah.
by the time I got there, like within a couple of months, and I'm like, okay, now I can buy the cats. Like, remember, I wanted to buy the cats, and I'm like, I don't want the cats anymore. I think that's kind of how I am. Like, it's good that you know that you can, but at the same time, by the time you get there, like I'm over it. Like, yeah, I mean it's cute, but it's a lot of fur, Like if I want to travel, like who's gonna feed them? It's just, and it's just not like the cats, but like I feel you on the
Yeah.
having the option, but then not even using the options. Like just like it's good to know.
Yeah, and of course there's another side, like you said, like once you have it, then shit, now I gotta take care of it.
Hmm.
Now it's gonna take away from me. It's not gonna give me more. But yeah, that sucks. I think once you can very easily afford things, it doesn't mean that much anymore.
Hmm.
I think that's something I used to not realize because in high school, a lot of my friends they were like children of lawyers and doctors and like really high paying jobs. And it was always weird to me that they never felt anything for it
Hmm.
because that was just the standard to them. So it didn't mean anything. And to me, it was like, oh shit, like you have a boat. Like that's like next level shit. But to
Hmm.
them, it was like, yeah, but just a boat. Like don't care. I think that's a really, really good place to be where it just doesn't matter. And also
Hmm.
it cannot corrupt you. Like don't care. Like I don't have to take on clients. I don't have to do stuff I don't want because it means nothing. And I think if nothing can like bribe you or like buy your a piece of your soul, then
Hmm.
you're truly free because there is no price to it. Like my peace of mind is priceless.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. So it's the ability to choose on who to work with, which projects, and what, I think because I had never been a very materialistic person, For me, things are just things. Like a phone is a phone. It doesn't give me anything.
Yeah.
What gives me something is overcoming myself, is being courageous, is creating things that are meaningful to others as well, just going beyond my abilities and learning. And I think that to me is more a kind of feeling of accomplishment than just things, house as a house. And like you said, I'm the same way. I'm okay in a shoebox. I can adapt to my environment very easily. I also learned that when I was studying in France, I had like this 16 square meter tiny apartment that I was living. I was so happy. I didn't care. I mean, I can live basically anywhere, right? So it wasn't expensive at all, and I know that I can adapt to wherever I am. I don't have high needs.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
Anyway.
being able to like kind of internally be very happy with what you have instead of
Mhm.
constantly having the need to like need external things to make you happy because
Yeah.
those things will not mean anything after a while. Like it takes you a few days. Like everything that I ever bought that was very expensive, it takes me like maybe a week.
Yeah.
After a week, that thing is just a thing. And then you can chase the next thing, and the next thing, and the next thing. But at one point, there isn't that much more. And then, okay, what are you gonna do now? Like you've never learned to like just be happy from yourself and the things you do, and constantly needing something. It's a very empty road. Um, and I see this a lot, and also with people that I coach, and it's like especially younger guys because they feel like they need it. Uh,
Hmm.
but there's only so much stuff you can buy, only so much stuff, and there's you can accumulate everything, but it's gonna take away from you. It's gonna take away so much from you until a point where you have nothing left, and it's so hard to come back from that point. Um, that's a very sad point to be. But yeah,
I know, but I know we can maybe end here soon because it's already like in an hour. We passed an hour already. But I think there is this societal thing that if you own certain things, if you drive a certain car, that you made it. That especially in Asia, I think flexing with stuff is a big thing. People
definitely.
judge you because of what you drive and your clothes and everything. Um, and that I think there's this not Maslow, like hedonic treadmill. I think
Hmm.
hedonic treadmill or hedonic treadmill, when
Yeah, I know what
basically
you
like
mean.
everything becomes like like you get used to everything you buy.
Yeah,
Like it's new for 2 weeks and then it's like whatever. So novelty wears off very fast. I think
yeah,
money, I felt it really well. Like I felt like my first client, yes, $1,000, yes, and then oh 2,000, 3,000, 4, 5, and I'm going up, and I'm like, I used to desire a 3K client, like that was my thing. Like that's what I want. Like if only I was landing a 5K client, like like that became like, And now it's like, once you achieve that, you're like, huh, now it's 10, now it's 15, now it's 20. And it's like,
Yeah.
it's never enough in that sense. So I kind of learned to be like, oh, that's cute that I used to want that. And now it's like, it's nothing. I don't feel different, you know? I don't feel any
It's funny
different.
how it all works, but yeah. At one point, it really is just like, oh, nice. And then you go on to the next thing.
Honestly, I'm like checking my bank account. Yeah, there's money there. It's piling up. Great. What? And then what? You know, it's like
Yeah.
my life is still the kind of the same. You know, it's not major.
Yeah,
You
the only
know.
thing that I do think is very, very nice is never having to worry. If something breaks down, I get a new thing, I get it fixed. And it's not a big problem of my life. Whereas
Yeah.
for most, I think it's a huge stress factor. And if you have it, then it's just like, oh, well, gotta write a couple more emails for that, or gotta fix some Instagram stuff, and I'll pay. That'll pay for it. It's not me. I don't pay in stress. I don't pay in headaches. I just pay in the numbers on my phone, and that's it. And that's a
Yeah.
really good place to be.
Yeah. I think whoever's listening, you might have gotten to like the realization that financial goals and like all of those superficial goals, like they're good to have, but ultimately, I mean, we all have our whys of why we're doing that. And it's not to impress people or to like show to my mom and dad, like, look at me now. I think my high school classmates, look at me now. Like, it's just silly, right? So it really has to be a personal choice of building your legacy, trying to create something that of impact that is transcending you, whether it's for your family, whether it's for yourself, just to be more than you were yesterday. You know, just like if you die, you know, who knows when, and then you kind of made a difference in humanity. I think you start to zoom out and you realize like those matter too. So I think those are pretty important.
Awesome, awesome. I love that.
Any piece of advice for entrepreneurs?
Any last piece of advice?
Mm-hmm.
Try to really just detach yourself from the outcome and impressing others, because others usually don't care about you.
They
Like that,
don't.
and that's the truth. People don't care about you. Like they might like you, but they don't care as much. Like they would forget you in a month. That's the truth. So if there's anyone to impress, it's the person you see in the mirror. It's the only person. The only people that really matter. It's your family, it's your true friends, and yourself. And anything else is just a bonus. But just take care of those things, and you'll live a much, much happier life. Like impressing other people will only make you unhappier.
Thank you so much for being here, and thank you
Much
for
pleasure.
this conversation. I had so much fun.
Awesome, thank you.
Oh, how can
Likewise.
people find you? So tell us, the listeners.
Ideally not at home. I like to be private, but Facebook is fine. Just Adam Workhan. You'll find me on Facebook.
So we're gonna put your personal address into the description so they can knock on your door and disturb you in peace. Okay.
I think that would be the worst thing for me. The people like not wanting to drink coffee. But no, I think Facebook is the only place I'll actually respond. Like,
Okay.
if you try to text me anywhere else, I won't respond. But Facebook, I'll check it out once every month. So you can find me
All
there.
right. I'll just put your Facebook then in the description of this episode.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for being here.